It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Welcome to the EdTech Mondays Nigeria show, a platform to facilitate critical conversation on the use of technology for teaching and learning in Nigeria. My name is Chinyelu Akpa, your host, and it's good to be here again. Following the recent increased awareness and use of artificial intelligence, AI, for learning, we have discussed frameworks for integrating ethical AI in education. This month, we evaluate the impact of AI in education, touching on ways AI could be leveraged to improve EdTech businesses and evaluating the impact of AI in driving adoption. On the EdTech Monday show today, we'll be engaging Dr. Olumide Okubadejo, a technology leader with 15 plus years of experience in the industry. He holds a PhD in AI image processing from the Université Grenoble-Alpes and a master's in artificial intelligence in the University of Southampton. As head of product at Sabi in Lagos, Olumide leads the development of innovative products across all business verticals in multiple countries. He's also an adjunct professor at ESIEE Paris, a school of engineering in electrotechnics and electronics in France, teaching AI and data science for business decisions. His past roles include work at Audionamics, Sony, Spotify, Google, and many others. He speaks English, French, Hausa, Yoruba, and some Italian. Join me to welcome Dr. Olumide Okubadejo.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So let's jump right in. Your career portfolio is incredibly impressive, somewhat intimidating. So tell us, why artificial intelligence? Considering it's new to a lot of us right now.
Yeah.
How? Why?
I think for me, I started coding very early in 2004. And I was pretty young. I'm still young anyways. And by 2009, I was bored. I was looking for the next big thing. I started hearing about robotics and AI. And by 2012, I was on my way to do a master's in AI. And that was how the journey started. It started with me looking for something harder. It felt like I'd conquered programming at that time. It had something a bit more challenging.
So your foray into artificial intelligence started in 2012?
Yeah, 2012, yes.
I asked again because I'm wondering where we were, if we even knew that it was going to be this big boom, AI at that time. So you didn't have any fear or worry that you were studying something that might not be intelligent, that not be relevant. But then again, you sound like a risk kid. You had seen the future. Is that okay to say you had seen the future? So you knew this was something we were going to need, or you're just testing the waters?
In a way, like I always gravitate towards the hard things. So when I conquer something, I'm looking for something.
You move on to the next.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about, let me learn this because it might be very relevant. It's then just learn this because it's hard at the time.
At all.
I need to conquer it.
Yeah, so it's like, people are designing better stuff, and I've been doing all the normal programming, database stuff. I'm like, okay, there has to be more to this, something harder, something, more challenging. And then I got into Southampton at the time to do the master's, initially focused on robotics, and then after first semester...
It was too easy. You had to brag. You're not to brag.
And then I moved on to image processing, computer vision, and I felt like I found my passion then. Although I quickly switched to sound after my PhD.
So this is not the first time we're discussing AI on this show. No. We've done good work introducing AI and helping our listeners understand what AI is about and how it's supporting, education. So I'd like to take this a notch higher. Now speaking about the role of AI in supporting EdTech businesses. So we are focusing on the founders and the businesses themselves.
Of course.
This episode. With the experience you have, in leveraging AI to scale, I do think we're doing enough in EdTech. Are we doing enough? Are we doing anything?
I've seen a couple of interesting things that have been done. A lot of interesting conversations I've had over the time in EdTech. I feel like we can be doing more, but I mean, all of us are a twist. So at some point, we'll always say, yeah, we can do better. We can do more. AI provides an opportunity for us to, automate a lot of things in EdTech, such as, our learning schemes can be automated, grading schemes can be automated, how a person learns can be optimized over time. For instance, if you have a kid, who we keep bombarding with a certain learning style, we have the opportunity now to use artificial intelligence to discover the learning styles that suit certain kinds of kids, vis-a-vis their location. There are many things we can be thinking about and many directions we can go in. We have started, but we just need to ramp it up a bit.
So you've mentioned what we all know, which can be summed into two words: personalized learning.
Of course.
Which is what everybody and their grandmother talks about in EdTech, and how AI is going to support personalized learning. But when you talk about scaling businesses, which is a big challenge for startups, no matter how amazing your solution is, there is that bit where they are still scared,
of course,
of adoption. And it's not because they don't trust their solutions, it's because apathy and every other thing that happens with adopting anything that has to do with technology, connectivity, costs, and things like that. So where does AI come in now? Where does AI make it easier? Is it a question of giving them statistics or telling them, don't go to Lagos State, go to Enugu, don't go to Enugu, the market is better in Abia State? Does AI, so the way we have designed teaching assistants using artificial intelligence, the way we have designed reading assistants, is there marketing or are there marketing assistants now for distributing EdTech tools?
Not now. I mean, one of the constraints we have here is that we always want to go and take these solutions from, somewhere else in the world, and they don't really scale to, what we are doing here. But of course, these are opportunities, right? Where do you have the most, kids that need, the tool that you're building? You can decide to plug in data or AI tools into the existing database of WIAC and NECO and JAM and look at the distribution of students that are passing, what they're feeling, what's happening. And then you can look who needs your tool more better. That can be integrated into marketing tools. There are many ways that you can look at it. One of the things that I worked on in Paris last year was, being able to tell a student what school fits them even before they apply. So you want to go to a school, but you want to also understand the way you learn, your values, is it integrated into, the way the school operates? And that was something that has been built, so that we're built at the time. So there are many ways that you can look at it. I know that we're talking about personalized learning, but there are an avalanche of opportunities and ways so that we can look at it.
Going back to what you said with what you did in Paris, right? Very interested being able to suggest what school to attend based on some data available.
Of course.
What would you say are the limitations for some of this type of, go-to-market tools that AI could support? Because when you said this, I just said, data. Like, where do we start aggregating all of this information that could then feed the models required to supply all the information that could help them to scale?
A lot of people say this thing that we have a data problem. We don't. We have a strategy around which to utilize and curate the data that already exists, right? And we don't have an existing strategy to say, hey, this is what a school stands for, and this is how we're going to structure that data. And of course, there has to be work there. I was talking to somebody who was like, things around facial recognition, they didn't have data. I like, you just need a strategy. I've known somebody who just put a camera, got permission, put a camera in a place of worship, and was able to get as much data as they wanted. So I don't think we have a data problem. I think that we just need to sit down and find a strategy around curating and structuring the data that already exists. People go to Unilag for certain reasons. People go to UI for certain reasons. People will go to the Federal University of Technologies for certain reasons. This data implicitly exists. Maybe it's time to make it explicit, and if they explicitly exist, it's time to put a strategy around its curation and its use.
And make them available to people who need them.
Exactly, that's another point. And that's why, the curation and structuring of data, I've always said, should be public-private partnerships. Because a lot of times we have private companies really doing a lot of work in curating data, but then they keep it in-house. So when you do have something that's public and private led together, you're able to have the public say, okay, fine, we're curating this data, but that we also want to make it available for research purposes, for use, startup use. Companies that are coming up have access to these kinds of data, and then they can build tools easily with them. But we need a global strategy around that, and I think it starts from that partnership.
There's so much work being done with the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy by the Honorable Minister, Bosun Tijani. Do you think this is a foundation on which we could build, various other strategies, in this case now supporting EdTech? I asked this because, this is an EdTech show, so it still drills down to how would we get all that? How would we squeeze out the life from artificial intelligence to support all the various areas? So if we keep speaking about personalized learning, if you have the wonderful tools that are personalized and you still cannot scale, you still don't get people to use them. It's just another fancy product at the end of the day. So
sure,
where's that strategy in helping us?
So, that strategy, that global strategy is a starting point. I just piggyback into something that you said around, the products just being a typical product, or just any product if, we can't get them to be used. I want us to also understand that the AI strategy is always based on time. So you have to understand that, you have these models that are meant to learn over time. And a lot of times when people build EdTechs, they really just want to say, hey, I've got this fancy tool, it solves a problem. What you need to start thinking about is a strategy for data collection that makes your product better over time. So if you're talking about personalized learning, I might not be giving you personalized learning now, but I have the strategies in place to give you personalized learning, in the best way possible in the next 6 months, because the data that is being generated by my product is going back to make my product better. And that is, when I talk to companies, I talk about this closed loop strategy. Of course, the AI strategy is the basic foundation, right? It gives you everything you need to be able to build. It's a starting point in essence. And we need to start to drill down into different sectors, especially EdTech. Right now, there's an over familiarity with LLMs.
Yeah.
Which in itself is a problem, because people only think about solving a problem. I'm going to give you a chatbot. But then there are many ways that this can be done without even, getting into chatbots. In fact, personalized learning with chatbots have a problem with
that. You've just kicked off so many EdTech solutions. Like you've broken a table, taken it away, once to the house. I agree. There's a lot of white labeling happening right now. One thing being wrapped up in 1 billion other ways, giving them fancy names, but still doing the same thing. So, again, going back to your experience in artificial and business intelligence,
Yeah.
Do you think our startups, our EdTech organizations have the skill? When you think about EdTech organizations, you would hear product designer, the product graphics guy, the guys who are writing the code, the growth people, learning science, instructional designers. It ends there. So is there a need for us to now be very particular on the type of roles that we are trying to make available with, EdTech organizations that have interest in AI and know how to use AI to scale? Because I know what you did. I've seen your works in business intelligence. You've hacked, B2B and the rest, leveraging AI. It's not something I hear about in education at all. It's always how you've tried to write to the government. I'm not faulting anybody. That is what most people know. So where are we with the skills gap or not? If there's no gap.
There's a skills gap, obviously. It's very difficult to hire an AI person. They cost a lot. So even if
You cost a lot. Say, I cost a lot.
Okay, I do. But I mean, if you want that in your company and you have a strategy, it's still going to be very costly. The way that I get to think about it, I've thought about this problem in two ways. Consortiums, companies coming together to form maybe research groups that solve their own problems. You know, in the sense, you guys can come together and hire maybe 3 AI people or 4 AI people. And then, you know, their job is just to generate the research and the tech to feed back into your individual companies. So in a way, it's collaborative, right? Companies coming together to form these kinds of groups that leverage the existing research to build what can then go back into those products to make them better. If you have enough money, you've raised enough money, you know, you can also invest in that. Also understand that, you know, this is something that pays off in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years. But people talk about ChatGPT. Friends of mine are in ChatGPT, and then they were there in 2016. You know, that's when they started doing all the work. Nobody heard about ChatGPT 1. Nobody heard about ChatGPT 2. And GPT 2, and these are the kinds of things you need, both a short-term approach and a long-term approach, and this can happen with people coming together. There's also the government approach, really, where you can, you know, start to, and I see the Honorable Minister doing something along those lines with the AI Research Center, NCAR, I think, where, you know, they now start to do research in this way, and companies can now piggyback off their research to make their products better. In that way, it's cheaper. The government bears the cost of research and maybe owns the data, makes it publicly available. But then this also feeds down into startups to make them better, and, you know, they're able to build better products provided that they have the vision to build them.
So it's not a situation of thinking of having this talent in-house. That's community approach. It's the community approach at the end of the day, you know, synergizing, still going back to data interoperability, you know, willingness to share. Because you could still have 4, 5, 10 organizations that come together and are working but don't share data.
Of course.
So it still remains within them. So thank you so much. So this has been very interesting. If we haven't learned anything on this episode, we know that there is so much, you know, AI can do for us in EdTech beyond just personalizing learning. Yeah. And, you know, it still goes back to a lot of things we see on this show, that a lot of organizations who are building for EdTech need to start working together.
Exactly.
It's only when they work together, they know what their common challenges are or can be around scaling, and can synergize, as you've said, if they're going to follow a community approach to deploying AI to solve their growth problems. It's not cheap. Exactly. So they have to pull their resources together. Again, it can only happen when there is data sharing, of course, and everybody knows what they need, and that foundation can be laid. So thank you so much, Dr. Olumide. Do you have any parting shots for us, our listeners, on how, or the future of EdTech's growth, business growth, leveraging artificial intelligence?
I think that, you know, we're ripe for it. I think that we are the largest market for it. And if there is any place where, you know, AI becomes the most useful, given where we are and where we want to be, it's EdTech. I see billions of dollars in this industry, and we just need to think right, strategize right, and execute right.
Thank you, Dr. Olumide, for sharing your valuable insight and experience with us today on the show. It was a pleasure having you here. And to you, our listeners, we'd like to hear from you. What role do you think artificial intelligence would play in improving adoption and scale for EdTech businesses in Nigeria? Do you think we are ripe and have the necessary skills and talents to make this work for businesses here? Send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message, 0703 165 0809. You could also drop your thoughts and your comments on our WhatsApp and Telegram communities at EdTech Mondays Nigeria. It's an active community and so much happens there. In case you know anyone who missed this episode of the EdTech Mondays Nigeria show, or you have missed any past episodes, we have it all saved for you at the EdTech Mondays Nigeria channel on Spotify and CC Hub Africa on YouTube. Hurry on there to listen to the replays and to drop your comments and feedback. Until I come your way, same time, same station, I remain your host, Chinyelu Akma. It's bye for now.
EdTech Monday is proudly brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.